My name is Jen, and today we're going to be talking about part 2 of a two-part webinar on the standard report formats. So this is going to be the step 2 screen of reports in our membership module. If you're following along in the workbooks that are available for purchase on our website, churchwindows.com, this is going to be in membership 204, pages 23 through 28. And yesterday was pages 13 through 22. So if you missed yesterday and you are following along today and it's not the info you're looking for, yesterday's webinar has already been uploaded to our website. So if you come to the main page here, churchwindows.com, hover your mouse over supporting, and then go to the support center. You can also just click this big blue supporting picture and then go to documents and videos. This will take you to the page of all of the documents and videos about Church Windows. And you can see right here is yesterday's webinar about the standard report formats part 1. So today is part 2. And if neither today or yesterday's topic is what you're looking for, I'm sure you'll be able to find another webinar in here that covers your area of interest. If you're struggling, try searching, for example, report and the module in which you're wanting information. So reports in membership. If I click search, then I get a whole list of all of the different reports. Just pay attention to the version number at the end, as long as it says and newer, or it says the number that you actually have, you should be good to go. And if you're looking for those workbooks that I mentioned that we're going to be following along from, this is under beginning training workbooks. They're available there for purchase. If you have questions throughout the webinar, you can type those into the questions panel. Josh is with us. He's going to be answering those as we go along. If they're relevant for everybody, I'll read them out loud and answer them. And if I miss any or Josh misses any, we'll come back to them at the end of the webinar. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive in. This is version 21.18.4 that I'm working with. We're going to open up membership and we're going to click on reports. And as I mentioned yesterday, you can click the reports right here in the center of the screen. Let me grab my little highlighter. We can go right here, or we can go up to the top to reports export, then reports and labels, and then reports directory export. Both will take you to exactly the same screen. When we open it up, we've got step 1, which is covered in detail in various other webinars. So all I'm going to do is select status as my search criteria so that I'm looking at the same people as yesterday. I'm grabbing my active and my associate status codes. The sort tab determines what order the names are in. So if you ever find your names are in a funny order and you want them just alphabetized, come to the sort tab and reset sort will always set it back to name last first for regular reports. Then click next. So again, we're not really talking about step 1 today. We're mainly going to be focusing on this next part, step 2, which determines what information actually gets printed out. So yesterday we talked about basic reports and all information reports. Today we're going to be talking about custom, directory, mail merge / export, and directory export. Now that may seem like a lot to cover, but they're actually fairly concise. So we're going to start with directory. Now with directories and custom, The list of available templates is exactly the same. All the ones that have template in brackets come with the Church Windows software, and you can edit them as you need. Many of the ones that say with additional fields or with cell and email will require input from you, and they will pop up with a message that says so. Again, this is covered in another webinar in great detail. So if you're struggling with cell phones and emails, try searching cell and email, those 2 words, or those 3 words, cell and email, on the website, and the video will come right up. So for our example, we're just going to look at the 2-column classic directory. Now the difference between selecting custom and directory is explained in this little blue print right here. Custom reports require the directory report order to be filled out correctly, and directories also require include on directory as well as the directory report order. Those are fields on the individual records. So with any reports, if you're missing people, go to their individual record and investigate what information is missing that's leaving them off the report. Oftentimes, it's the directory report order. So if we click print with the directory and our 2-column classic template selected, we will get a nice little print preview with all of our families. All of the directory templates will list the parents on the top line, the children on the next line, and then the main address, followed by the alternate address if there is one. Now, if I choose custom instead of directory, it's actually going to separate each individual member of the family. So it looks like we're seeing duplicates. But if we look at the bells here, first we have Bill and Donna, then we have Donna and Bill. So it's listing each individual person as a separate entry if you've got custom selected. If you've got directory selected, it groups it by family, and it needs a primary person in the family to be part of the search results in order for the rest of the family to be included. You can also scan through this list of names before clicking print if you want to remove anybody or if you notice ahead of time that somebody is missing. Then you can go to their record and you can see why they're missing. Investigate that. So again, we have a bunch of report options up here in the top right like we did for the basic and all information yesterday. We can include the year on the birth date if that is included in our template, or we can include the year only for the children. We can make a last name uppercase by checking this box. We can include additional family members linked from other households, which means kids that are appearing with 2 separate families. For example, if their parents got divorced, they're listed on both mom's and dad's records if you set that up. So you can choose to include them in both or just include them in the original family if you uncheck it. Then if you're printing a picture directory, you can choose to use the individual picture if you don't have a family picture uploaded by checking this box. And then you can decide if you want the children separated by semicolons or commas. So if I switch that to comma, you can see when I click print, we've got our kiddos now separated. Let's see, Stuart and Eric down here, and the Bernards are separated by a comma instead of a semicolon. And also their last names are capitalized now because we checked that box. On the grouping and page break options, we have a choice to page break on each person. I'm not sure why you would do that on a directory, but it's a choice. You can include an alphabetic heading, which is kind of neat. That puts an A at the beginning of the A's and so forth. And you can also break it up alphabetically if you want to have, for example, tabs inserted so that you can flip easily from the A's to the B's to the C's. So if we check both of those just as a quick little example, now that is a message about the fact that it is 2 columns. So it's saying that it would work better going across than down as opposed to down than across in the columns when we're doing a page break. And this is a small demo database, so we don't really get to see a good example of what that means. But if I uncheck that page break, that's really only relevant for very large databases if you're breaking in between sections of the alphabet. So this is what it looks like with that alphabetic heading. It's kind of nice. It allows you to very quickly and easily scan through your directory. Custom layouts, again, use all of those directory templates. You can totally start from scratch by clicking New, entering a name, and then clicking OK. And this will bring up our report designer completely blank. Now that's a lot of work. If you need to do this, give us a call. Chances are you don't need to do this. Most of the time you don't ever need to start from scratch with custom, but it is a choice. If you want to do it, give us a call for more info and we can walk you through that. So now let's take a look at our directory export. Directory exports are going to function more like the basic and the all information reports where they use a column selector instead of using that designer that we just took a look at. Also, directory exports, like directories, are going to group people as families. Mail merge export, like custom, they're in the same line, so they're similar. Mail merge export will separate individuals. You can see in the list of names here at the bottom when I switch back and forth between the two, the list of names is changing because it's either showing every single individual with the mail merge or grouping by family with directory. Now the export options up here in the top right are the same for both exports. The software does not come with templates for either mail merge or directory exports, but you can create them by clicking New. You can see I've already got one in here. It's popping up as a choice. This one's just basic contact info is what I've called it. Directory exports are most frequently used, for example, if you're working with a third-party company such as LifeTouch. So I'm going to title this directory export LifeTouch because that's our most common use of directory exports. When you click OK after putting in the name for the export, it's going to automatically start you out with the name fields, the address fields for both the main and the alternate address, the family phone, and the work phone. If you want to change this at all, you just move fields from the visible side to the available side to remove them, or to add them, you move them from the available side to the visible side. So, for example, let's open up the phone and email fields, and let's add cell phone. And to do that, we click on it so it's highlighted, and then we either click this arrow to move it over. And let's say we also want to add email. We can double-click it as well. So either double-click to move or use the arrow buttons. We're not going to worry about the rest of the phone fields. And if we want to remove information, let's say we don't need the alternate information on our export. If I want to remove several fields that are not in order, I can click on one, hold down Control on my keyboard, and click on the others that I want to remove out of order, and it'll select them Then I can click the arrow to move them all. I can also select several in a row by clicking on one, holding Shift instead of Control, and then clicking on one above or below the one that I currently had highlighted, and it selects that whole range. So now I selected 4 in a row, and I can get rid of those. So that's how we move fields between the two sides. Once you are satisfied, you click OK. If you want to change the order, you have up and down arrows over here. And then we have some export options in the top right. File tells us where on our computer it's going to save it. If we don't like that location, we click the 3 dots and we can decide. For example, I'm going to go ahead and choose desktop. The delimiter of tab or comma determines what type of file it is. So here the file extension, lifetouch.txt, if you've got tab selected for the delimiter, or if you select comma for the delimiter, you get lifetouch.csv. Those are just 2 different types of files. If you don't know which you need, ask the company who you're providing the file for. In my experience, LifeTouch, as an example, will use either. So it doesn't really matter. 6 one way, half a dozen the other, as I like to say. So delimiter depends on the type of file that you need. Our last few checkboxes for the mail merge and directory export are to include the birth year on the birth date, and we can do that only for children or for everyone. And then, like we talked about before, again, include alternate family members. So those are our kiddos who might have separated parents. So check that to include them in both families. Then when you've got all your export options how you want them, you can click export down here. Now you'll notice when I named my template, I didn't put any date in. However, if I want to export this as LifeTouch 2019, I can put it in the export name over here. So that way, my template will be ready to go for next year, but my file itself, and I'm sorry, I typed that in the wrong box. I wanted to type that up here, not in the actual name. If I do it when I'm setting up my file, then the file itself that I actually export will have the actual date in the file name, but the template won't. So next year I'll know I can still use this template and it'll be the right information. So whenever you're naming the templates over here, don't worry about putting any kind of identifying information about the date or time that you're doing this. You can use it all the way into the future. Okay, so that takes us to the end of our topic for today, our report options. Once you click export, all it's going to do is let you know it's creating a file, and we get a little scrolly bar. It'll allow us to open the folder. We can click yes if we want to open that folder right away, or no if we want to open it up later. Both TXT, tab delimiter, and comma, CSV, will open in Excel. They will open in Notepad. They'll open in various different programs. Once it's out of Church Windows, we're no longer really able to give you much more guidance. But the file that you create will be a file that contains all the info from Church Windows, and then you can do whatever you want with it out of Church Windows. Okay, so thank you all for attending today's webinar.